8 months of war crimes and violations of all international rules by the occupying entity in the Gaza Strip. He added that the inaction only encourages the criminals to continue exterminating the Palestinians. Meanwhile, the European Union has also strongly condemned the massacre committed by the Israeli occupation in the Nusayrat camp. The European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Joseph Borrell, said that he was horrified by the reports of further carnage targeting Palestinian civilians. He added that the European Union condemned in the strongest possible terms the bloodshed, which must stop immediately. For its part, Turkey deplored the deadly Israeli attack, stressing that with this latest barbaric attack, the Israeli occupation added a new one to the list of war crimes it has committed in Gaza. The Turkish Foreign Affairs Ministry called on the institutions responsible for the maintenance of international peace and security, notably the UN Security Council, to exercise their responsibility to put an end to these crimes committed by Israeli occupation, which is on trial before the International Court of Justice for violating its obligations under the 1948 Genocide Convention.
And now Egyptian Foreign Ministry in a statement condemned the Nusayrat attack, describing it as a blatant violation of all provisions of international law, shedding light on the Israeli occupation responsibility for the offensive and urged it to stop the devastating war on Gaza. It also called on influential international parties and the Security Council to urgently intervene to halt the Israeli war against the Gaza Strip and to take responsible action to end this humanitarian crisis, which has killed over 36,800 Palestinians. For its part, the Jordanian Foreign Ministry also denounced the Israeli continued genocide in the Gaza Strip, also saying the attack constitutes a blatant violation of international law and international legitimacy resolutions. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has warned of a possible outbreak of cholera in the Gaza Strip due to the lack of drinking water and high temperatures in the Palestinian enclave due to the genocidal Zionist aggression for 8 months. UNRWA explained in a post on X that with minimal access to clean water in the Gaza Strip and the continued summer heat, there are real fears of a possible cholera outbreak in Gaza, which would further deteriorate the inhumane living conditions. UNRWA concluded that the Gazans need an immediate ceasefire. And now the Sahrawi people are commemorating today the 48th anniversary of the Martyrs' Day, which coincides with the 9th of June, the date of the martyrdom of Wali Mustafa el-Sayed on the battlefield in 1976. Majid Mila has more details in this report.
Today, Sahrawis are commemorating the memory of those who gave their lives and soul to their homeland in defense of justice, setting the most wonderful examples of legitimate fight and sacrifice. Contacted by our colleague Wahiba Miri, the Polisario Front representative to the European Union, Ubi Bushraya Bashir, said today the vow is renewed with the invocation of the memory of the martyr Al-Wali and his companions, full of love for the homeland and pride in its people, believing in the inevitability of victory, the sanctity of the message of the Sahrawi cause, the nobility of its goals, and the honor of its people.
Efectivamente, el 9 de junio es el Día Nacional del Mártir.
Indeed, the 9th of June is the National Day of the Sahrawi Martyr, and it coincides with the martyrhood of the founder of the Polisario Front and president of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Mustafa Sayyid, who passed away in the battlefield on June 9, 1976, while carrying out a military operation in the capital of Mauritania, which was then fully implicated in the conflict of Western Sahara. This day is then an opportunity to commemorate his anniversary, to recall the legacy of his exceptional leader, and to lament the memory of all Sahrawi martyrs.
La memoria de todos los mártires saharauis.
48 years have passed since the martyrhood of Wali Mustafa al-Sayed, and the entire Sahrawi people are still committed to their vow and struggle until the occupation is defeated and independence is achieved, which is reflected in the gains achieved by the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic at the political, diplomatic and military levels, especially that Western Sahara is a founding member of the African Union and has been recognized by more than 80 countries around the world. On this occasion, the Sahrawi people recall with all sincerity the iconic martyr and his companions who died for the victory, whether on the battlefield or in the occupation's prisoners, or those who died while defending the rights of the Sahrawis in various fields and arenas. The iconic martyr left in mark clearly on the Sahrawi military system, in addition to being a man of the field who understood the challenges and was able to develop options that enabled him to achieve victory. This martyr's philosophy is based on leadership, initiative, rigor, honesty and self-criticism. This philosophy was enshrined in building early contacts with political forces in the region, notably with Algeria, Libya and Mauritania, and in establishing the Polisario Front and declaring armed struggle, forming the Sahrawi National Council and declaring the Sahrawi state amid extremely difficult regional and international circumstances. Then the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic was then recognized by the world's leading figures and in the hearts of all Sahrawis who follow the path of the martyrs.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The Sahrawi Association of Victims of Serious Human Rights Violations Committed by Morocco has called on the United Nations and Security Council to shoulder their responsibilities regarding the oppressive policies and abuse to which Sahrawi civilians in the occupied Western Sahara and Moroccan universities are subjected to, and work and oblige the Moroccan occupation to respect international legitimacy. In this line, the Sahrawi Association condemned the harsh and unjust sentences against the two Sahrawi students studying at Ibn Zahra University in Agadir, El Hussein Bourakba, 20 years old, arrested on January 19, 2024, and Ayman El Yathrabi, 20 years old, arrested on January 23, 2023. And now one of the largest black civil rights organizations, the NAACP, has urged the President of the United States, Joe Biden, to indefinitely halt all weapons deliveries to the Israeli occupation and pressure the US ally to end its war in the Gaza Strip, sending a reminder that his support for Israel could hurt him among black voters in November's election. The NAACP calls on war. The NAACP call was a rare instance of the influential civil rights organization taking a position on U.S. foreign policy towards a country without a significant black population. The NAACP said the U.S. must use its influence with the Israeli occupation to bring a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. It also called on President Biden to draw the red line and indefinitely end the shipment of all weapons and artillery to the Israeli occupation. Asked about what would turning down such calls cost Biden amid the elections race, our California-based political analyst, Mr. Hamid Salhi, had the following.
Biden and his administration and the entire Democratic Party have to be concerned, particularly with the legislative and presidential elections are in a short period of time. They fear that the African American will most likely stay home and not vote for the Democrat Party, which could mean or translate into their defeat in the presidential and congressional elections. This is seen particularly in the swing states, which where the African Americans played a major role in the last election, bringing President Biden to power.
Mr. Hamid Salhi added that it showed the growing support of the African American community for the Palestinian people.
It is a statement that speaks volume to the morality that Martin Luther King stood for and fought for, and his message is for justice. It is also an indication and a statement that the African American whose support for the Palestinian has grown recently as a result of the genocide committed against the Palestinians in Gaza. This is a reminder as a minority who experienced slavery and racism and continues to experience racism. They see their solidarity with Palestinians as a natural outcome, and they relate to the struggle of the Palestinians.
This year, a group of more than 1,000 black pastors called on Biden to secure a ceasefire in Gaza. The world celebrates on June 9 the International Archives Day, a time to raise awareness on the necessity of preserving archives for the long term and of providing access to them. A great importance was given to the national memory by Algeria, especially in recent years, to recover her archives from France, a step deemed important for Algeria's national memory. Here's more on the International Archives Day and on Algeria's effort to recover her archives with my colleague Essia Bekkar.
The world celebrates on June 9th the International Archives Day, which is intended to raise awareness of the importance of records and archives in order to make it understood that records and archives provide the foundation for people's rights and identity. Also, it is a time to raise the private and public sector's awareness of the necessity of preserving archives for the long term and of providing access to them. During the 2004 International Congress in Vienna, 2010 participants adopted a resolution requesting that the United Nations designates a specific day to mark the importance and value of archives. Subsequently, it was decided at the 2007 International Council on Archives annual general meeting that June 9th would be celebrated as International Archives Day. The date June 9 was chosen to commemorate the date ICA was created under the auspices of UNESCO in 1948. A great importance was given to national memory by Algeria, especially in recent years. Once elected, the Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune laid great emphasis on the significance of national memory and its recovery. And in 2020, Algeria received the skulls of 24 symbols of the people's resistance who had been decapitated during France's colonial occupation of Algeria and stored for decades in a Paris museum. The return of the skulls was the result of years of efforts by Algerian historians, and it came amid a growing global reckoning with the legacy of colonialism. The 24 resistance symbols fought French colonial forces who occupied Algeria in 1830 and took part in an 1849 revolt. After they were decapitated, their skulls were taken to France as trophies. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune said Algeria recovered 24 skulls, but more than 100 others are still in France, insisting that Algeria's archives should return and that France should admit its crimes.
الإكران جبنا 24 شهيد استرجعناهم، ولكن العدد مازال باقي 100 وش لازم نواصل. أولا فيه ديزارشيف لازم يجوا، فيه بعض الجرائم لازم يعترف بها.
In 2022, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune appointed 5 historians to be part of the Joint Commission of Algerian-French historians to work on the memory issue. This commission was composed equally of Algerian and French historians to work on the French colonial period in Algeria and the War of Independence to resolve the historical dispute that marked Algerian-French relations. The president said the Joint Commission is made of historians and not politicians to work on the historical angle and not on the political one. He said he agreed with French President Emmanuel Macron on a 1-year deadline that can be extended, as the memory file deserves all the time needed.
Nous sommes mis d'accord pour la mise en place de cette commission d'historiens presque dépolitisés pour traiter la mémoire sous l'angle de l'histoire, pas sous l'angle de la politique. Je pense que la commission pourrait être installée dans les 15 ou 20 jours qui suivent, de part et d'autre. Le temps qui leur est imparti, nous avons parlé avec le président Macron d'une année. Ça peut être un mois peut-être s'ils terminent leur travail avant. Ou s'ils prennent encore un peu plus de temps, tant mieux, parce que les bonnes choses prennent du temps.
The president insisted earlier that the archives are part and parcel of national identity. There are archives that colonial France found in Algeria, and that is the archives of the Ottoman era. They should be brought back to Algeria as they were found in it.
الأرشيف جزء لا يتجزأ من الذاكرة الوطنية. كان لي زارشيف اللي لقيتهم فرنسا هنا، أرشيف تاع الدولة العثمانية وداتهم، هذوك لازم ترجعهم. ربما هم يقول لك رجعوهم الدولة العثمانية، لا ترجعهم هنا، ديتهم هنا ترجعهم هنا. كاين لي زارشيف نتاعهم تاع ضباطهم نتاع كذا ونتاع كذا فيهم كي سون ديجا ديكلاسي كو اون بو يوتيليزي فيهم دي زارشيف اللي لازم يرجعوهم لينا تاع بعض العراش وبعض البلديات وبعض الانتفاضات الشعبيه وهذه يعني ميدان متشعب ما من المفروض ما يهتم به الا الانسان اللي يتعامل مع لي زارشيف ويستعمل لي زارشيف.
Meanwhile, President of the Algerian Commission of History and Memory, Mohamed Lahsan Zaghidi, announced that his committee has obtained the agreement of its French counterpart to return all archives of the Algerian state before the French occupation, as well as all the documents requested by Algeria symbolizing the existence of the Algerian nation and its diplomatic relations with the world. The coordinator of the Presidential Commission underlines that the new Algeria clearly indicated from the beginning that there could be no friendly relations and fair cooperation with France before the resolution of the memory issue. He highlighted the firmness of the Algerian position in demanding the elaboration of her history held in France before talking about building friendly relations and future cooperation. The Algerian Commission of History and Memory said the Commission is making progress in correcting historical errors implemented by colonial school, insisting that all documents found in Algeria must return.
The meetings held between Algeria and France culminated in important and tangible results, notably the recovery of 2 million digital documents. There was also an agreement on recovering all documents related to the Ottoman era. We also tackled other issues like the looted items that were taken from Algeria, as for instance the manuscripts, weapons, and everything related to these matters.
Memory is a fundamental aspect of identity formation, influencing how individuals and groups perceive themselves and their place in the world. Thus, International Archives Day is an opportunity to shed light on this important aspect of national identity and also to praise Algeria's relentless efforts to recover this important piece of her national memory.
Algeria, the Rais Palace, also known as Bastion 23, which is located in the lower part of the old city of Algiers, or Kasbah, is an Algerian architectural jewel built during the Ottoman era in the 18th century, precisely in 1576 AD, by Deyramden Pasha. The palace, which consists of 3 palaces and 6 houses, was meant to strengthen and reinforce the defences and maritime protection of the city. The name of Bastion 23 was given to the palace following the construction of the ramparts during the then French colonial rule. Archaeologist Kahina Muhus gives us a glimpse of the history of Bastion 23.
Well, we can date back the order of construction of the Bastion 23 to 1576, when a defensive battery was commissioned by Mami Arnott to Ramatan Pasha. Its expansion was recorded from 1750. It was purchased by Qara Mustafa in 1797, then by Dey Mustafa a year later. Finally, in the 1800s, the palaces 23 and 17 were built.
The architecture of Bastion 23 is unique. The ceilings are made from cedar or cedar logs, which are resistant to damp and termites, and other wood-based ceilings decorated and carved with geometric and floral motifs in polychrome, as well as rigid ceilings in hallways, kitchens and bathrooms. The dining room is located in Palace 18, with windows overlooking the sea, niches on the walls lined with earthenware tiles, and a decorative shelf. This room also has niches for oil lamps. You can find Sqifa, which is a reception area separating the inside from the outside to maintain the privacy